Hey gang, this is Dave from Systematic Investors Group. It is September the 28th, 2022, and it's about quarter to 11 Eastern Standard Time, New York, Toronto time. Just wanted to give a just a quick review of the market again. I think the last video I did was around September the 9th, so about 3 weeks ago or so, at the beginning of the month. And the reason why I wanted to just put this out today is simply because we're at another critical spot in the US market. So I think in the last video I was talking about the next time we checked in, if we broke this trend line, we'd either be down at somewhere down around this level, or if we broke this trend line, we would be somewhere off to the races up here, which is what I was hoping for. As you can see here, we started out. Actually, you know what? Let me just zoom in on this. Just bear with me a second here. Where is it? Okay, sorry gang, I just had to pause the video there just so that I could figure out how to zoom in. So this is the S&P 500 chart, the daily chart, and basically what we're looking at is we had this sort of trend line here that I believe at the time around September the 9th we were holding, and then we started pushing off here, and it looked likely that we were going to break this trend line, and then the Fed came out on this day, you can see, with this wide range down bar, and kind of precipitated this move down. And you can see now we're into this previous level of support, this low here, and the market is just trying to find support in this area here at this previous low, and this low coincided with this down channel of this down trend channel. My apologies. Okay, so basically, I think what we're looking at here is, we'll zoom into the 60-minute chart in a minute, but it looks like we're finding some short-term support at this level, maybe at least a short-term bounce. So basically what I'm thinking is, the market is obviously struggling. It's going through some I mean, we're basically into bear territory here. So essentially I think what we're looking at is, are we going to find support at this level here? This is a key decision point, and basically bounce off, or are we just going to keep bouncing around in this channel? Are we going to have any accelerated selling? At this point, if we don't hold this support level, I think the next logical level would be a decline down to this trend line, which would bring us about to about 3,400 in the S&P futures. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom into the 60-minute chart just so we can see what's happening here. So here's the 60-minute chart here, and you can see here we kind of did a U-turn through this low. This is the same support level. We kind of did a U-turn through there, and you could see on the 60-minute we have numerous momentum divergences going into this level. So you've got positive divergences as the price is going lower. You can see the momentum is gaining strength all the way back in the MACD from this level. You can see it here even in the Bollinger squeeze indicator. So I mean, essentially, at least here you've probably got a short-term bottom and a bit of a bounce. How strong that bounce will be is anybody's guess. If you look at the oscillator on the RSI 5 on the daily chart, it's hooking upwards, and the last time that happened is we had this kind of W pattern buy signal here, and then we came up to the 70, around the 70 level here, and we crashed. So essentially, in a down market, that's what you're going to see. You're going to see price get rejected when we get into this upper band of the RSI, somewhere around 70 to 90 range. So it'll be interesting to see what happens here. If we can hold this, if we can hold these levels and maybe bounce around. We do have some seasonality coming up, and it'll be interesting to see. If you look at the seasonal average chart here, here's the 20-year average in the red line. We're getting really, really close to a seasonal, an average seasonal bottom, where we usually rally into Christmas, from somewhere around the middle of October, and rally into Christmas here, as you can see by this, this average over the last 20 years. Is that going to happen this year? Well, nobody really knows. It'll be interesting to see, though, if this is the support level that holds and the seasonality plays out. Now, we can't predict the markets, but we can try to get an idea of what's happening here. So essentially, if we don't hold this level, I think the bottom of this down channel is likely. If we do hold this level, then maybe a test of these previous support levels in the immediate future makes the most sense, somewhere around 3,900. We're trading around 3,700 right now, so maybe 200 points to the upside in the S&P futures. So at this point in time, there's really not a lot going on. My systematic strategies obviously took a little bit more heat in this down move, at least the long strategies, and essentially what's happened is a lot of them have just they're just managing current positions, and they're not taking on new positions. So it's a little bit frustrating when it keeps flirting with our our buy criteria, and it turns on, it turns off. I mean, this happens from time to time, especially when a market is trying to find its footing and trying to decide where it's going. I think we're down close to maybe close to 25% right now. I haven't actually calculated it out. Let's just take a quick look at the SPY. Same situation here on the daily chart. If we look at the Nasdaq futures first, you've got that same kind of idea playing out, right? You're coming down into these support levels, and these support levels for the time being at least are holding. You can see this kind of long-wicked hammer candlestick off of what would be probably a support line right around there. Okay, and then you've got momentum hooking to the upside, and you've got the same kind of positive divergences playing out, and a little bit of a bounce. You've got that seasonality, potential seasonality coming into play as well. So which is likely because they're all of these indexes are correlated. So if you see now the Dow is kind of interesting because the Dow it broke this trend line as well. It had the same kind of pattern, but now it's broken below its previous low here, at least by a couple of bars. So that's not super significant, but if the Dow was leading, I would be concerned that that might be telling us where the market wants to go. Now, if we look at the USD Cad cross in the currencies, you can see the USD Cad has been moving opposite. Let me just delete a couple of these things. The USD Cad has been moving opposite of the indices, and if you look at, it basically went parabolic here. And normally when you see a parabolic chart, it's ready to come down, and you can see here momentum is also hooked to the downside. So one of the things I like to look at is Fibonacci extension. So if you look at this sort of cup and handle pattern where it broke out here, so here would be the cup, here would be the handle, here's the breakout point here, and we can throw a couple of Fibonacci extensions on there, and that will kind of give us an idea of how extended this market is. Now that's really, really extended. So if you look at that, like usually the 1618 extension, the 1272 is likely when it breaks above 100%. The 1618 is a really good move. This has gone even beyond the 1618. Now in extreme cases we can get to the 2618, but this to me looks like the USD Cad is kind of struggling, and this may actually bode well for a move higher in the indices, which are in my opinion, right now, negatively correlated to the stock market. So in other words, the USD CAD is inversely correlated to the stock market, the U.S. stock market at this time. So, gang, that's all I've got right now. I'll just take a quick look at the VIX. So the VIX did spike a little bit higher into these levels. It's not super overdone, but into these recent high levels, and it's kind of backing off from there. So it'll be interesting to see what happens here again, gang. Just to recap, I think if we look at the S&P futures, we're at support. If we fail support, this bottom trend line is likely. If we hold support, a move, somewhere about halfway back of this prior move, which would bring us right into resistance, is probably makes a lot of sense in the, at least in the short term, and maybe even a move back up to the, to this trend line here. But that's kind of a long shot, depending if seasonality, the yearly seasonality kicks in or not. So it'll be interesting to see, gang. Just keep an eye on what's happening in the market over the next week or so. That'll probably give us a good indication of what the market wants to do. So with that being said, I will bid you adieu, and I'll look forward to seeing you at an upcoming meeting or at an upcoming update. All the best. Good trading.